Hey guys, how are you doing? So today we are going to be talking about mead, specifically how mead has been used by pagans for millennia as both a drink to enjoy and as a drink for offerings. So as you can see, I am headed downtown. I'm going to go pick myself up some mead, probably stop by Savannah Bee Company because I know they have some good mead there. And then we'll head back to my place and talk about it. Okay, I have my mead, so we are all set to go. I'm gonna head back and we're gonna have a chat about some of the fascinating ancient origins of this beverage. Today, I wanted to talk with you guys about mead because it is a drink that has a lot of fascinating connections with many different pagan cultures. And mead is basically a pretty simple drink to create. It's just fermented honey mixed with water, and then occasionally herbs, spices, or even hops are added in. But due to the wide availability of honey, this was probably the first alcoholic beverage ever created, and it was consumed across Europe, Asia, and Africa. The oldest evidence for mead drinking comes from, I think, 7000 BCE in China, and it started to be drunk in Europe around 2000 BCE during the time of the bell beaker culture. And there is even some crossover with mead and the magical beverage called soma that you see mentioned in several sacred texts like the Rig Veda. By the time you get to the ancient Greeks, it was a preferred beverage and was enjoyed by many philosophers like Aristotle, for example. And when we get to the Roman Empire, we have one of our first written recipes for mead, which I will link down below in case you are interested in giving it a try. This particular recipe is from, I think, 60 CE, so you should try it out and tell me how it goes. So we've mentioned a bit how mead has been a part of cultures like China, India, Greece, and Rome. But my guess is you're probably most familiar with the connections between mead and the Norse or Scandinavian cultures. And you'd be right. Mead does have a very strong connection towards Norse paganism specifically. Mead is mentioned a few times throughout the prose and poetic Edda, and specifically in the story about the Mead of Poetry, which is one of my favorites. This special mead was made by mixing honey with the blood of a slain man named Kvasir. Now, Kvasir was kind of a Promethean type figure who traveled the world spreading his knowledge and wisdom to mankind. When his blood was used to make the mead of poetry, Kvasir's vast intelligence was transferred into the drink so that anyone who would drink it would have the ability to answer any question or solve any riddle. And anyone who would drink this mead would immediately become a skald or a poet, hence the name Mead of Poetry. Now, the Mead of Poetry was under the ownership of a giant named Satungur, until the god Odin famously tricks him and takes the mead for himself. In the story, Odin drains the whole container of mead into his mouth and then transforms into an eagle to escape. But the giant also transforms into an eagle and chases him. Luckily, Odin is met by the other Norse gods who have all brought different vessels that he can then spew the mead from his mouth into the vessels, and from that point on, the mead of poetry belonged to Odin and the other gods. Though it is said that Odin will give the gift of the mead of poetry to any particular poet or creative out there. Now, this connection between mead and poetry continued throughout time. There are several mentions of mead being drunk in the epic poem of Beowulf. And in 550 CE, the Welsh bard Taliesin wrote a poem called the Song of Mead, which kind of inspired many later poems throughout Wales and Britain. And after Christianity fully took hold in Europe, the tradition of mead making was preserved by the monks and the various monasteries. And today, mead is kind of having a bit of a resurgence of popularity. I don't know about you guys, but when I was a bit younger, I don't recall ever seeing anyone drink mead. But now today, it's available in a lot of different liquor stores and even bars. So it's kind of neat that now it's becoming a bit trendy because it has such a fascinating history, as we just chatted about. And for us modern pagans, as we strive to learn more about these ancient traditions and bring them into the modern era, mead can be a really interesting thing to incorporate. You could use it in a ritual way to inspire poetry or creativity, or it could be used as an offering to the gods, especially if you happen to follow the Norse pagan path. Personally, I just think it's so amazing that this beverage can take us back millennia to a time that was a bit more ancient and perhaps more magical. But I want to hear from you guys. Have you ever incorporated mead into your pagan practice? And do you have a specific type of mead that you would like to recommend? Definitely share your thoughts down below. And thank you guys so much for watching. I am planning on doing a lot of upcoming Yule content, hence the decor that I've started putting up. So stay tuned for that, and I'll talk to you all later. Bye.